Welcome to an all-new episode of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. Thank you so much for joining us. And the last week of the regular season is officially upon us in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. And we have a great show lined up today. Of course, we will recap the weekend that was, but we're also going to be joined by Ronge Ice Wolves goaltender Dawson Smith, and also a nominee for Sasktel Goalie of the Year, plus much, much more. But before we get into it, I have to give a big shout out to our sponsors: Cantera Seeds, Sasktel, Capital Auto Mall, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Chevrolet, Tourism Saskatchewan, Direct West, SGI, SGEU, Great Western, Young's Equipment, RBC. Thank you so much for your support, because once again, without your support, these shows would not be possible. And it's time to bring in our co-hosts, Rory Mcgouran and Jamie Neugebauer. Fellas, how are we doing? How was everyone's weekend?
Yeah, great weekend. 1 week away from playoffs.
Exciting.
Want to wish you a belated happy birthday.
Oh, geez, thank you.
No problem. And then also, avid listener of the show. Don't think he misses an episode. Way up in Flan, Vegas, Austin Cardell.
Yes.
Happy birthday. That's
happy
today.
Birthday,
so happy
Austin.
birthday up there to Austin.
Yeah, there you go. I echo that. Austin Cardell. Nobody's nicer when the Flin Flon Bombers aren't facing your team, and then nobody's meaner when the Flin Flon Bombers are facing your team. He's basically like, get out of the way.
There you go.
Facing the Bombers, but when he's not, he's the nicest guy in the world.
There you go. Well, we had a busy weekend in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, so let's get right into it. 4 games Friday night across the league. The Yorkton Terriers with an 8-4 win over the Melville Millionaires. A big win for the Humboldt Broncos, 5-3 over the Balfords North Stars. The Flin Flon Bombers with a 4-3 win over Nipawin. And then the Ronge Ice Wolves with a dominant 6-1 win over the Melfort Mustangs. Then Saturday, 4 more games. In the rematch, Yorkton swept the weekend series over Melville, winning 5-3. Estevan with a big 6-2 win over the Notre Dame Hounds. Battleford's getting some revenge on Humboldt with the win, the exact same score as the Friday night game, but the roles reversed. And Weyburn with a 3-2 overtime win over the Kindersley Clippers. And then finally, a pair of afternoon games on Sunday. The Nipawin Hawks earning a 3-2 shootout win, and the Weyburn Red Wings blanking the Kindersley Clippers 2-0. And of course, all of our look backs are presented by Sask Lotteries. A busy weekend, 10 games on schedule. But Rory, we got to start with the Humboldt Broncos, Balfour North Stars, 2 of the top teams in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. They split their home and home, the road team winning both games, but a very entertaining 2 games between the 2 clubs.
Holy moly, what hockey was
great.
played at the ACC and the EPA. It was playoff hockey, 3 weeks early, 2 weeks early, however long it's going to be. But if they line up in the playoffs, the only opportunity they're going to, based off of their seedings, will be in the SJHL Championship.
Can't wait.
Those 2 buildings were graced to the best hockey I've seen all year in those 2 games. There was no room. It was physical, as fast as hockey as you're going to see. How hockey's supposed to be played, right? The Broncos come in, the first team to beat the Battlefords in that building in regulation this season. Took 50 games, 25 at home. So props to Battlefords for holding out that long. But the Broncos, you're looking at them right now, and you got to think confidence is overflowing with the ability to win 4 out of 6 games in that season series. The North Stars, I think they needed that last game in Humboldt. It was huge for them to, shake off. I wouldn't say they have any doubt, but going up against Humboldt and losing 5 of 6 would be something to kind of consider going into a playoff series. Battlefords comes in and they do their job in the EPA. Couple notes about the games. Humboldt's been the best thorn in the side for that top line. I mean, they're pretty much still a point per game against Humboldt. They've combined for 12 points in 13 man games, so just under a point per game. But I would suggest that is the lowest total among the other 11 teams to hold those lines. They can't stop Steven Kesslering, though. 7 goals in 6 games. He's one of the best all-around players in the league, one of the fastest, and he seems to be the thorn in the side for the Broncos. And on the other side, it's been Cage Newens for the Humboldt Broncos to really get that propeller going. But this was playoff hockey. This was unreal entertainment, and I'm not surprised both games were basically the exact same storyline, and 5-3, both wins for the road teams.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton to add to that other than I think both coaches have to be happy right now. Couple things. One, they got playoff style hockey.
Yep.
Awesome. Phenomenal. Scott Barney, I know he's so positive, loves the challenge, takes the positive out of so many things. That's one of the things I really appreciate about Scott for the Broncos. And I talked to Braden Klomosko all year. I said, when are you going to, how are you guys going to deal with the real adversity? And, he didn't really have an answer. He said, well, it'll come. And our guys will have to prove it then. The adversity of losing and bouncing back and finding a way. And that has not had to happen too many times this year. They went up to the Whitney Forum. They got smoked by the Flin Flon Bombers. What did they do the next day? They found a way to win. At home, the Broncos came in there and get smoked, but it was a good game. The Broncos won. How did they deal with that adversity? They went into you could argue, just as hard place to win these days in this league as the Elgar Peterson Arena is, and went in there, and what did they do? They found a way to win. So you check maybe the last box for the Battlefords North Stars mentally to say, we can bounce back. They didn't have to prove that all year. Now they have a couple times.
And I think that's a very good comparison, comparing that to the a couple of weekends prior, where they went up to Flin Flon and they got hammered that first game.
Battleford's undefeated still when they score the first goal of the game. You have to get on them early, right?
Yep.
We know how good they are when they get rolling. 33-0.
Yep.
No overtime losses, no shootout losses.
Yeah.
33 times they've scored the first goal.
That's right.
33 times they've won. And every time that they take a lead into the second period, undefeated in that scenario too. You have to get on them early. Broncos scored the first goal in both games.
And we'll see if that continues moving forward into the last week of the regular season and into the playoffs. But let's talk about the team that's competing with the Humboldt Broncos for second place in the standings. Of course, second place still up for grabs. The Flin Flon Bombers, a big 4-3 win over the Nipawin Hawks and a potential playoff preview. But the Flin Flon Bombers taking care of business at home on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked all year about the Flin Flon power play, and they got a 5-on-3 to start that, or early in that third period, and used that to score 3 straight, use that momentum. And it's kind of like at the Access Communication Center in Battlefords, once the avalanche starts going downhill at the Whitney Forum, I think we've all felt it. It's hard to stop that avalanche, and kudos to the Nipawin Hawks for sticking in those games. Obviously the Nipawin Hawks, once they get to overtime or a shootout, they are as money as anybody in the league, so they got to feel good if they had found a way to crawl back. But Tad Cozen's got to be happy that his team didn't give up, found a way to win in Melfort the next or a couple days later. But the Flin Flon Bombers still without all those guys. The only guy they've gotten back from that long list of injuries that we talked about earlier was Cole Tanchuk. But they've won 5 of their last 6. The only one loss there was in the shootout at the Elgar Peterson Arena, where they pushed the Broncos as well. It was a really good hockey game. We were both in the building that night, Rory, and man, oh man, they just keep finding a way without all their best players. Anybody who has an excuse in the league can't look at Mike Reagan in the face right now, because his team's found a way over and over again the last couple of weeks with 4 of the top 6 forwards out of the lineup. Super impressive.
Flin Flon and Humboldt, Battlefords as well, have been playing playoff hockey for the last 2.5 weeks. It seems like that's what you want going into the first round.
Yeah.
If you have a little bit of an easier schedule, you maybe don't get these build-up games,
Agreed.
right? Flin Flon now has not only been playing playoff hockey, as Nugsy mentioned, they've had amples of adversity, right? No Mercier, no Vauclair, no Tremblay, no Dupro. That's the other, the top 4 scorers are out. And, you're getting guys plugged into holes and step up. Look at Brett Gullinchin. Look at Alexei Silvestri.
They had 8 different scorers over the last 3 days.
They've been
None
great.
of those were the names of the guys you just mentioned. So.
Well, yeah, 100%. They've just been finding ways. Liam Bridger has come in and really shored up a lot.
100%.
Kylan Olofsson is stepping up. A usual depth player, young player, 2004 birth year. But yeah, Mike Reagan, he deserves a lot of props for keeping the Bombers, in a race for second place, because the Broncos, looked at all those injuries, maybe from pundits outside thinking, well, they're going to lock this up pretty soon. But Flin Flon is running with it right to the end here. Broncos have the game in hand. So if they're able to run all 4 left on the table, they will finish second. But Flin Flon's making it a fight for sure.
They control their own destiny as the battle for second continues to heat up. And it's fitting because this week's a little different compared to weeks past for the Tourism Saskatchewan play of the weekend, highlight of the weekend. We've got 2, and they come from those 2 teams. So let's start with the first one, this one coming from Humboldt on Saturday.
Ian Bell, Cook trying to get back, and he pokes it away from Bell. Back around the net of Motu it goes. 1-1 the score, 8:53 remaining here in the first period. Ceccarelli back down, intercepted, backdoor, glove saved by Motu. Oh my goodness, what a robbery.
Zone, Paquette back to touch up, 9:24 remaining. And now we're seeing big stretches again with no whistles. Boy, what a game here tonight. There's a steal by Kane. Out front. Oh, what a goal that is. Tic-tac-toe. And Joey leads.
So I'll ask you about the Mo2 save, because that was obviously you on the call. Obviously an unbelievable glove hand save. The one thing I'm going to say is I hope that defenseman got Ben Mo2 maybe a drink after that game, maybe a nice Gatorade, because he kind of bailed them out a little bit on that save.
Yeah, I'm sure he had Gatorade, a nice healthy meal. He faced 50 shots in that game, and that was in the first period where it was tied 1-1. So it was one of the best glove saves he's thrown out all year, and kind of a similar situation in the Flin Flon goal. You know, it's kind
very
of
similar.
Worked it out of the corner, a backdoor pass, and Mo2, you saw him really out to the top of his crease, able to get at least an angle and flash the leather, whereas Flin Flon was able to find the back of the open net. But both beautiful plays.
Well, that then leads me to this question then, Rory, and I really want your perspective on this. Going into the playoffs, there's a bunch of teams in this league that have who is the number one?
Sure.
Who's going to get the start? We talked about it with Melfort last week. Is it Jared Picklick or is it Ben Mo2 for Humboldt right now?
Call me crazy.
You're crazy.
I think they're going to do exactly what they're doing now. I don't think they're going to have a guy, that's just my opinion, that runs the whole series in the first, right, with a bona fide starter backup. Right. Since they brought in Jared Picklick, it's basically been alternating every game. Yeah. Been 2 or 3 situations where goaltenders played 2 games in a row, and they've won 17 of 20 games. So I think they do the same thing in the playoffs. The only outlier is if, one of the goaltenders in game 1 gets blown up 7-1, the other one comes in and shuts out game 2, then you maybe pivot your thought process. But going in, right now I would put my bet that one plays game 1, the other plays game 2.
Now, we talked about teams with good goaltending all year, and one team that has 2 very good goaltenders is the Melfort Mustangs, but a tough weekend for the Mustangs as they continue to battle for the Ronge Ice Wolves for 4th place and home ice advantage in the first round matchup. We know now it is going to happen. It is going to be Melfort against Ronge, but going into the playoffs, the Melfort Mustangs have definitely cooled off a little bit. Tough 6-1 loss at home against the team that they're going to play in the first round, and then a 3-2 shootout loss on Sunday against Nipawin. You
want to take this start, Nugsy, or?
I don't know what is going on in Melfort. Like I asked
you said that how many shows this season?
It's true.
I asked Matty Barrett what his perspective was on this, and he kind of didn't give me a very clear answer, which is probably the same thing that's going through the mind of Trevor Blevins. We have this ultra talented team. We have great players, young and old, a great blend, a dominant decor, 4 guys at the showcase on the back end. Yet now, this penalty kill that was number 1 all year long goes 3 for 7 at home against the Ronge Ice Wolves in a big game. It's very surprising to me. I picked this Melfort Mustangs team to go all the way.
You did. First episode, I remember.
I'm not going to back away. I still think they're a remarkably good hockey team if they can figure it out. We talked about how good they are on their day. Wasn't a good day for Joel Favreau. Everybody has a bad day here and there, and I think neither he nor James Venn have really kind of grabbed that number 1 spot right now in Melfort either, and that's got to be concerning. And then you give the Nipawin Hawks a chance at the shootout. Alex Ochitwa, he's 4 of 5 in penalty shots, and the only time he was stopped, he was absolutely robbed by Logan Falk of the Kindersley Clippers. So he could be 5 for 5. Carson Dobson, he's 3 for 3. Like the Nipawin Hawks don't miss in the shootout. So Melfort ran into that buzzsaw a little bit. But man, oh man, I don't know what's going on with the Mustangs.
Yeah, I have a couple to pull out of this series. Ronge, they've won now 4 out of their last 5 road games. We talked about how much they were kind of struggling outside the Mel. They're figuring that out at the best time possible. Yeah. We still don't know who's going to be home at ice advantage and who's going to have to play 4 games potentially on the road. I would bet on it because I think this is going 7 games. You mentioned the 2 goaltenders, James Venn, .857 save percentage over his last 4 games, and Joel Favreau, .896 over his last 5 starts. So they're both sub-9. They're needing one of those goaltenders to figure this out. Ethan Strick, since coming back from suspension, has scored in every game, 6 goals in 4 games. And the final reason to highlight this playoff series, which we know is going to be a playoff series. These two teams have the most overtime and shootout games in the league. You don't think a few of these are going to 5-on-5 sudden death overtime?
Yeah.
With the Melfort Mustangs, 14 of their games have gone to overtime. Ronge, 12 of their games have gone to overtime.
Here's a crazy stat for you. This blew my mind when I looked it up today. The Ronge Ice Wolves have given up 41 goals in the third period this year. Only 41 goals out of 54 games played.
That's impressive.
That is incredible. That is by far the best in the league.
Yeah.
That's better than Battleford's. That's better than everybody. You know, if they do not give up, Dawson Smith is the most clutch goalie in the league. Say whether he's the best or not, that's a debate. Could be argued. He's certainly the best late game goalie in the league. He has been that this year.
And he's got a good goaltending partner in Topher Chirico as well.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's quickly move on to, obviously, 7 playoff spots have been confirmed. If we can pull up the standings, guys, the Nipawin Hawks got an X beside their name. They have officially clinched their spot in the SJHL postseason. That means there is only one up for grabs. And the Weyburn Red Wings are getting close to clinching a playoff spot, but the Notre Dame Hounds still have 5 games to go where they could potentially catch up to the Weyburn Red Wings. They're going to need some help, but Nugsy, obviously, I'll let you take this one. A 2-1 week for the Notre Dame Hounds, but tough loss on Saturday to the Estevan Bruins. Maybe just give us an outlook on this playoff situation regarding Notre Dame and Weyburn.
Well, you can look forward and you can look back. Quickly, I'll look back. I'll ask you guys a very simple question. Jeremy, I'll pose this question to you.
Okay.
No trick question meant here at all. Very simple question. How do you finish 8th in the SJHL?
Win games.
You do better than 9, 10, 11,
Wow,
and 12.
that too.
So you beat 9, 10, 11, and 12. The
Yes.
Hounds didn't blow it. There's still a tiny chance.
Right.
They have to get a lot of things go the right way. I could break that down if you want.
You can break it down.
Well,
for the listeners, break it down.
So Weyburn has 3 games left.
Yes.
The Hounds have 5 games left.
Correct.
Notre Dame needs to beat Weyburn in regulation. That is an absolute
On Thursday night,
100% thing. The Hounds. So Weyburn, if the Weyburn Red Wings lose out, that's the
final
only
3
way.
games.
The final 3 games, and they have a tough schedule.
Yes.
You know, they've got
Humboldt Wednesday.
They've got Notre Dame Thursday.
Correct.
In Weyburn, and then they host the Estevan Bruins. So that'll, again, not an easy schedule.
No, not at
so
all.
if Weyburn loses all 3, then the Hounds have a chance. If Weyburn gets 2 points, then it's done. So the Hounds need to do this. They either need to, if they win every game and Weyburn loses every game, then they're in. Or if the Weyburn Red Wings lose every game and the Hounds win every game and get to that final game, say against Humboldt, they can get in with just a point because the Hounds would have the tiebreaker. So again, it's convoluted. Basically, if the Hounds lose tomorrow in Yorkton, it's over. If the Hounds lose any game, then it's over. But there is a small chance. But the Hounds didn't take care of business this year at different times when Yorkton was in town or when they were in Kindersley and Kindersley came to Wilcox. That's how you finish 8th. You beat the teams below you.
And that's why
Hounds didn't really do it.
That's why there's not an X next to the name of the Weyburn Red Wings yet, because there's still that hope that the Notre Dame Hounds do have, and you broke it down there.
But the Weyburn Red Wings deserve credit for going
100%.
into Kindersley
100%.
this weekend and finding a way twice, and not the prettiest hockey games in the world. They were back and forth. We could have gone either way. Kindersley tied it late in the first one, and Dazza Mitchell was phenomenal on both occasions. But the Weyburn Red Wings have taken care of business, and I really compare this Weyburn team in a lot of ways to the Notre Dame team last year. Brett Pilkington brought in a lot of experienced guys at the trade deadline up front. Nick Sombrowski and Nolan Coventry, and Connor Nolan was there, and the Hounds had some experience up front to go with Kevin Anderson and Elliot Dutil. This year, Weyburn brings in Riley Morgan. They brought in Turin. They got McQuan Tallman back healthy, so they've got 4 20-year-olds in their top 6 forward group. They've got an 03 in Tallman who's an NCAA commit. They've got talent, so it's very similar. They did what they needed to do to get 8th, maybe 7th. Good for them. They deserve it.
Yeah, there's still lots to be determined. Yeah. Notre Dame still has an outside shot, but even the positioning right now, when it comes to 6, 7, 8, it's still up for grabs right now.
The Weyburn Red Wings also took care of business while on a 4-game losing streak. They had to take care of business. 100%. Right? The wheels weren't falling off, but you can sense maybe a little panic there if you don't beat Kindersley at least once, right? Yeah. And they managed to take care of that. McQuan Tallman came back for this series and picked up 3 points in 2 games, including the game winner in that 2-0 shutout. And And of course, it was the first career SJHL shutout for Daza Mitchell, 28 of 28. So there was some adversity. There was probably a little panic. There was still a little buffer zone, but they could see Notre Dame taking care of business in their games, right?
Yeah, well,
beating Sam Kroon with that 50 or 29 second game-winning goal. Then beating Estevan, a team that you've struggled against, mightily recently. And then Weyburn, can see that going in opposite directions. Going into Kindersley, who's also been playing really well, 2 wins. That's a lot of breathing room for the Weyburn Red Wings, pardon me.
But they earned that breathing room by that long home stretch that they had, and they really took care of business. And that was the thesis statement of my point. The Hounds didn't take care of business when games that they probably needed to win came into Wilcox, or different places when teams were struggling when they went in there. Like Kindersley had not won a road game, and the Hounds lost 6-2. Didn't show up. That's why the Hounds are in this very precarious position right now.
I wasn't discrediting your point.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm just saying.
But here's the good news. We're going into the last week of the regular season, and there's still lots to be determined. Games are going to matter this last week of the regular season, and we'll definitely talk about it more later on in the show. But after the break, we're going to be pleased to be joined by Ronge Ice Wolves netminder Dawson Smith, get his thoughts on the season so far and that potential matchup against the Melfort Mustangs come the first round of the SJHL playoffs. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
Get red and ready with Case IH and Young's equipment. From Case IH combines to MacDon headers, Young's carries all the best in new or pre-owned harvest equipment. With field-ready, industry-leading equipment and highly dedicated service staff, we're here when you need us most. Come experience our award-winning service for yourself and visit youngs.ca to find your nearest Young's equipment location.
For victims of domestic abuse, fleeing may mean leaving everything behind. There is hope. Sasktel provides brand new cell phones so that starting over is possible. Learn more at sasktel.com/fresh start.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Give me more. Hey. Give me more. You got that thing that I'm looking for. Yeah, give me more.
At Viterra, we believe in the power of connection. Our world-leading agriculture network connects producers and consumers to supply top-quality food ingredients each and every day. Our team takes great pride in working closely with farmers to help feed the world. It's something we've been doing for over 100 years. And as an industry leader, we're dedicated to playing a critical role in meeting the needs of a growing world. Because together, we're stronger and achieve more.
My name is Kyle McIntyre, and I'm the commissioner of the SJHL. We have 12 teams spread out all over this amazing province. 12 teams that hit the road for combined 324 season games. We take hockey players, we make them better. We make them better at hockey and better at life. That's what the SJHL is all about. We have a great league, we have great teams, great ownership, the best fans, the best partners, and the best sponsors.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for 25, 3 for 60, or 10 for 100, but there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca. Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Jamie, Rory, and Jeromy. Thank you so much for joining us today, and it's now time to head to the video chat line, where we're pleased to be joined by Ronge Ice Wolves netminder Dawson Smith. Dawson, thank you so much for taking some time to join us today. We appreciate it. How's it going?
Good. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Of course. Yeah, it's always great talking hockey. I'll start with a nice, easy question for you. Big 6-1 win for you guys over the team you're going to play in the playoffs, the Melfort Mustangs, Friday night. What led to your guys' success on Friday at the Northern Lights Palace?
I mean, I've said it before. Like, in that second period, I felt like I was just watching hockey. It was crazy. Didn't have a shot. It was like not much work on my end. The boys played unreal, and I think it'll be a good matchup for sure.
Yeah, Dawson, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. You know, I got to ask you, I think a lot of people, including us, were saying, hey, we knew Ronge could win at home in the Mel earlier this year. So all those home games. We said, could they win on the road? And you guys have gone out and proved it. How big was that chip on your guys' collective shoulders to kind of show all of us that we didn't really know what we were talking about?
No, it was good. It was good to give us a little confidence too. If we end up not clinching that home ice during the playoffs, that we can still come in and win a couple games there and win some at home. And yeah, it's good.
How fun has it been this last couple of weeks? You know, you look at the standings, you're kind of like, yeah, it's looking like we're going to be playing the Melfort Mustangs potentially in the playoffs. We really want home ice advantage. And then you play them 4 times in the final 2 weeks, and you might have to play them 7 more times coming up. Just how fun has that kind of been with that rivalry brewing?
It's good. It's a rivalry for sure. Yeah, The game's been getting chippy, and those are the fun ones to watch. So I don't see that changing either. But I know we can do it, and yeah.
I know we've talked about yourself and your goaltending partner Topher Chirico all season long, Dawson. You guys arguably are the best goalie tandem in the SJHL. I just want to ask, what's your relationship like with Topher, and how great is it to kind of share the crease with him?
It's good. It's awesome. It's no matter who's in net, we're rolling, and most games anyway on my part. But no, it's good. We're solid. Like, we have fun, and obviously we're in the rooms together every road trip, so it's good to get to know him, and he's a really good guy.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question that's kind of outside the SJ, just for a quick second, if it's okay with my co-hosts here. You know, a lot of people followed the Canada Winter Games. I was joking with you over text about getting Gavin McKenna for the Ronge Ice Wolves next year. Obviously, he's going to be a star in the Western Hockey League and beyond. But, you know, how proud are you as a native of the Yukon of what he did at the Canada Winter Games? You know, how talented he is and going first overall. That's got to mean a lot. And just talk about the hockey scene in Yukon in general.
It's crazy. Like, in the past couple of years, like Dylan going, and now Gavin, obviously, like, there's not a lot of hockey up there. And so if you're going to try and make it, you leave early. And I think they both did that. And unfortunately, it skipped a generation there in between them too, but hockey's good up there.
Hey, Dawson, you know, last year in the SJHL, of course, you guys had Xavier Cannon as well as yourself, right? Many considered Cannon one of, if not the best goaltenders in the SJHL. Now you come in this year with the reins, and now many consider you the best goaltender, if not, one of in the SJHL. What'd you kind of absorb from Xavier? Maybe just some anomalies about the building or some preparation in order to really, do almost the exact same thing as he's doing this year in terms of how much people respect you and your talents.
He taught me so much, like, just as a person on the mental side of things. Like he'll say didn't have the greatest game or whatever, and he'd come back and bounce back like nothing ever happened and play an amazing game, stuff like that. And just a good guy, like, easy to talk to, always willing to give advice, like picking you up when you're down. I couldn't say a bad thing about him. Like, yeah,
Do
Great guy.
you try to now turn that around and do the same thing for Topher now this year?
It's tougher. Like we're both the same age,
Right.
so I think we're mostly just learning off each other. Like,
Gotcha.
and that's a good dynamic too. Like it does help.
Now, last week, Dawson, the SJHL Players of the Year awards were announced, and you're up for you're a finalist for Sasktel Goalie of the Year. Just what was your thoughts, I guess, going through and finding out you were a finalist for that award?
I mean, I'm honored. There's plenty of good goalies in the league, and I know it must have been a tough decision for sure. It was cool seeing Cam up there. A couple years back, I stayed at his house for a week during a goalie camp in Calgary, and not sure if they have as fond memories as I do, but no, it was cool seeing him up there.
That's awesome. Was there a big fight to try to stop each other from getting to the fridge? Or, with both of you guys, obviously Cam Herdlicka, I'm guessing, is who you're talking about, the Oscar Van Bruin's goaltender, for those that don't know, is one of the finalists as well. I got to ask you, Dawson, one of the things that I mentioned earlier in the show here was that the Ice Wolves are just so good at not giving up goals in the third period. You guys lead the league in that category, only 41 over the season so far. And, for yourself, I've seen so many games where maybe you give up one, maybe two in the first, and that's it, and it's done. Can't give up anymore. What do you kind of attribute that to, finding a way to both, bounce back from a goal, but also just to be clutch so late in games time after time?
Oh, the blocking shots is crazy from the D and the forwards. Like, I know that's a big thing at Killer's coaching, is just getting guys to block shots, and it shows, like, in those big moments. Maybe it would have gone in if it didn't get blocked, or a nice tip could have happened, something like that. And it's nice to have, like, protection all around.
How has it kind of been? Can you explain playing in the Mel Hagland Arena? When opposition goes there, they have to be worried about the bounces off the back wall. Bodies are on you really tight. The fans are right on top of you, right? The press box for us feels like we're the sixth power play member in the power play, right? Like, it's just a unique building, and I only can expect it's that same way for goaltenders. So how have you had to try to maybe adjust your game in an arena that things just happen so fast?
They do happen fast, and I think it's hard to prepare for it. Even practicing there every week, it's a new bounce every time, or hits a new stanchion, or someone in the crowd yelling at you. It's crazy. The fans are amazing. Like last year in Humboldt, when Humboldt came up for the playoffs, it was like just hammering Ramsey, their goalie. Like, if I don't think I could have handled it. Like, they're attacking him.
Yeah, very cool. All right, last question for you then, Dawson, and then I believe Rory has his rapid fire. I mentioned the Canada Winter Games there before. You had the experience as well of playing there. That just was finished there in Prince Edward Island. You were there a couple of years ago with the 03s. And just talk about that experience just briefly. How much did that impact you getting to represent your territory?
It was really cool. Obviously we didn't do great the hockey side, but like, it was fun, like, seeing all the new prospects and guys who are going to go far, and obviously lots of them will play in the NHL. And watching that hockey was a really cool experience for me.
All right, Dawson, I'm not sure if you've seen this part of the show before. It is Rory's rapid fire. So I'm just going to fire some quick succession questions at you, and then some quick answers coming back. First thing that comes to your mind, all right?
All right.
All right, so you're a goaltender. What's your weirdest pregame ritual that you do that you got to get ready for a game?
Oh, that's so tough. There's probably a couple. I'll say I'm more of a pizza pocket guy, so I'll maybe have 2 or 3 of those before I take my nap. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's perfect. All right, a subcategory of Rory's rapid fire. It's going to be called Details with Dawson, and the topic is geography. Obviously, you're from Yukon. Topher Chirico is from Kansas. So I'm just curious if there's any, sort of anomalies or unique characteristics that when you first met Topher that you're like, oh, that's weird.
Just his twang, I think, was the big one. Like, hacky. That was hard to get used to for sure. Or they don't have pizza pockets is one thing.
How are they gonna live? How do they live without pizza pockets?
It always comes back to the pizza pockets.
I don't know how are they still alive.
Right.
You got a fun fact about Yukon that maybe we don't know about, or someone that hasn't traveled there before?
Don't. No, just kidding. I know there is a lot of dog sled teams up there, and sometimes it's hard navigating the roads when you're getting couple dog crossings. So
that's definitely
interesting.
How about any specific foods that maybe you miss from back home that's just hard to find? Besides pizza pockets.
Ooh. I like caribou.
There you
Pizza
go.
pockets, yeah. Caribou's good. Can't eat too much of it though. You get some iron and poisoning, but
Interesting.
That's great. Okay, details with Dawson over. I got a couple more. The Ronge Ice Wolves have a lot of Tasmanian devils on the ice, right? Who's maybe the most Tasmanian devil Ronge Ice Wolf off the ice with just an insane sort of
I think the on-ice transfers to off-ice.
So whoever we see on the ice causing a lot of havoc in the, with physical play, that's probably the guy that has that style off the ice.
Right, strict, just a like all-around team guy, good guy, but he's wild for sure.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, come on! It's got to be something by Rihanna, or maybe.
There you go.
Maybe like
Umbrella?
Diamonds. I'll go Diamonds.
Diamonds? Okay.
Oh,
Gotcha.
I don't know what Umbrella.
A lot of
She hit some notes there. I don't think I could crack.
I got two more for you. When Larange scores a goal at home, can you hear Braden Malsbury's goal call while you're on the ice?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We all thought so.
We thought so.
All right. Final one. You guys are looking like you're going to play Melfort in the finals. Who's one of their shooters that just has a deceptive shot that you really got to be careful about?
It's hard not to say like Zach Summers or Kachuk. I think those two they always find their way to the net. So it'd be fun to see if we can keep those guys down and get to the first round.
Yeah, good luck in that first round.
Yes,
as well.
good luck. Dawson, thanks so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it. This has been awesome. Best of luck in the final weekend of the season against Flin Flon, and best of luck in your first round series against the Melfort Mustangs.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That is Ronge Ice Wolves netminder Dawson Smith. A great chat with the 19-year-old netminder. Now, coming up after the break, we have some business to do, Players of the Week, and we're also going to talk about the nominees for Players of the Year. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, or 10 for $100. But there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
You wouldn't take the ice without protective wear. So why would you take to the job site that way? The SCSA is proud to partner with the SJHL.
Saskatchewan, you know Sasktel. Because we're everywhere. Keeping you connected. To your family and friends. To your history and culture. to those traditions that make us who we are. Sasktel cares. Always has, always will, because we're dedicated to our home.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Jamie, Rory, and Jeromy. Thank you so much for joining us. What a great chat with Dawson Smith of the Ronge.
Unbelievable. I love that positive energy. It just comes across the interview. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could see why he's able to bounce back from things and be so clutch. He just carries himself in a way that you're able to focus. And man, what a fan I am of that interview. What a great kid. Wow.
Great interview, great kid, and we wish him the best of luck, obviously, against the Melfort Mustangs in the first round of the playoffs. But let's get right into announcing Players of the Week this week. And let's start, Rory, with SGU MVP of the Week. This one coming from the Yorkton Terriers, Pavel McKenzie, 4 goals, 3 assists, and even though that was in 3 games played, he got it all in 2 games played, both against the Melville Millionaires over the weekend.
Yeah, he's a young player that's, Yorkton's got a lot of returning guys next year, right? And I know they've been underperforming this year, but you see when players get a little bit more maturity, a little bit more adjustment to the game, you can turn that around in a hurry. He'll be a focal point of offense for Matt Hare and the Yorkton Terriers, and he's showing it now late in the season. 2 goals and 1 assist in that crazy game against the Melville Millionaires, and managed to only have 12 penalty minutes, which, seems like a lot, but in a game that had 322 combined, it wasn't actually a lot.
No, that's on the lower side.
12's not too bad.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, what a fantastic week. He led all players in terms of points in a tie with a player that you'll hear coming up very shortly.
Well, let's get right into that. Direct West Rookie of the Week coming from the Notre Dame Hounds. Jacob Leege, 3 goals, 4 assists. And I know in our group chat there, Nugsy, you were telling us all about how great of a week Leege's had.
Yeah, I mean, he's having a great last, 2-3 weeks, really. He's got 13 points in his last 7 games, and that's even bigger considering, Will Dawson just hasn't been healthy. And I don't know how many, 18 younger first-line centers there are in the SJ, maybe Brett Butts on Yorkton. There's maybe the other one, and those are 2 phenomenal young hockey players. But, yeah, Jacob, at the right time, the Hounds needed some offense to survive, I guess, at this point, and he was able to score against Weyburn. You got a 4-point night there, and 2 against Estevan last time out. So, Jacob's just been phenomenal. And everything that Brett Pilkington has asked him to do this year on and off the ice, he's done, just kept getting better, and can't wait to see how good that kid's going to be. So
congratulations to Jacob Leege. That's also his second time winning Direct West Rookie of the Week this year. Now moving in between the pipes, Rory, Sasktel Goalie of the Week, Daza Mitchell, the Weyburn Red Wings, only 2 goals against and 2 starts against the Kindersley Clippers, including, you referred to it earlier on in the show, his first shutout in the SJHL.
Yeah, and we knew that Weyburn needed someone to shore up that maybe slight bit of panic with the way the trajectories were going. And Weyburn only managed to score 5 goals in 2 games, but they won them both against the Kindersley Clippers. Big props to Daza Mitchell. You look at a couple of his last games, a shutout, so 1,000 save percentage. The game before 933, the game before 917. A little bit of a rough one in Notre Dame, but before that, a 949. I know Battleford is a powerhouse. It's looking like these 2 teams will meet up, but you get a hot goaltender in the final 5 starts of the playoffs, they're like, okay, well, hey, they're believing a lot in Daza Mitchell, and that really is the main proponent, as Newsy talked last week, that and special teams, to making an upset. You look at Battleford's PK2, it's 8th place in the league, but Daza Mitchell is adding a little interest to a first-round series that many people think will probably be a write-off. Mitchell plays like this, it's going to be close.
Well, and that's the thing we've always talked about, even off-air, when it comes to the SJHL playoffs this year, is if any team gets a hot goalie, anything can happen, and obviously Daza Mitchell can pull that off as well. And finally, Super U Defenseman of the Week. Nugsy, we're going back to the Notre Dame Hounds. Sam Kroon, 1 goal, 4 assists, and no bigger, obviously, than that goal he scored against the Weyburn Red Wings with 30-some seconds left to secure the win.
Yeah, a lot of I don't know if maybe it was the only game in the SJ that night or something, but a lot of people seemed to tune into the end of that game. It was a wild
We tuned
finish.
in for you, News.
Well, that's very kind and a big time lie. But anyway, Sam Croon, 29 seconds left. He scored the 2 biggest goals for Notre Dame the last 2 years now, I guess if you include that one, to win it at the death against Weyburn. And I got to tell you, like, Sam's numbers offensively haven't been the same as they were last year. But, with Jared Sitch especially not being healthy in 2023, he's really gritted up Sam Croon. He's really matured. He's had a lot of very raw partners to play with this year. He's been really, really great. So I'm really happy to see him get rewarded. Offensively, he teed up Vinny Palmerine for Vinny's absolute cannon as well in that game against Weyburn. And, Sam's been great lately and really all year in a lot of ways in a mature sense. And, just really a big reason why the Hounds are still somewhat alive.
Well, if it wasn't for that goal, there would be an X beside the Red Wings name. So, hugest goal of the season so far to keep those hopes alive.
100%. So, in recap, SGU MVP of the week, Pavel McKenzie of the Yorkton Terriers, 4 goals, 3 assists. Sasktel goalie of the week, Dazza Mitchell, the Weyburn Red Wings, just the 2 goals against in 2 games, so a 1 goals against average, 2 wins, and his first shutout in the SJHL. Direct West Rookie of the Week, Jacob Ligi of the Notre Dame Hounds, 3 goals, 4 assists. And Super U Defenseman of the Week, Sam Croon, also of the Notre Dame Hounds, with a goal and 4 assists. But of course, late last week, guys, the SJHL announced the finalists for Players of the Year. So I'd like to kind of run through them all, ask you guys if you think there's any surprises and some talking points. So let's start right at the top, and let's start with MVP of the year. Coming up on the screen, Kian Bell, the Battleford North Stars, Holden Dole, the Battleford North Stars, and Riley Morgan of the Weyburn Red Wings. Rory, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts when seeing the finalists, I guess, for MVP?
Not that Riley Morgan doesn't deserve to be there. He was the MVP on 2 different teams this year, you can argue,
it's
right?
True, yeah.
And he's really been the catalyst to propel Weyburn up in towards, the 8th spot. So I think he definitely deserves to be there. And also, I guess the outlier is, I just think Josh Cote has had an MVP style goaltending season as well. Battleford allows the 10th most shots on net. Mm-hmm. They are not a defensive team that, smothers you to 25 shots a game.
Right.
They allow 37 on average. And Cote's made the most saves in the SJHL and has the highest save percentage. So I don't think you can have 3 straight Battleford's North Stars player. I don't want to be able to pull Holden Dole out, put Riley Morgan in, just to add Josh Cote. I think these 3 are perfect finalists. I do think Cote has not only had the goaltending deserved nomination, but an MVP. If there was 4, he'd be my 4th. But I can't see it not going to Kian Bell. 54 goals or whatever it is right now, 52 goals, 42 assists. He's been the MVP of the league. I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to Josh Cote because you can't forget about the goaltenders too.
And just before, Newsy, you get into it, I just want to say, when you look at a lot of these awards, there's probably 5, anywhere from 5, some awards, 5 guys you can make a good argument for. There's some awards you can make an argument for anywhere from 8 to 10 guys that could potentially be a finalist. And that's how difficult I think it was this year for the voters. Newsy, you want to add on MVP?
Yeah, I mean, I said before that I give it to Holden Dole just because of the responsibilities of a centerman. I know people are very, very odd by numbers, and totally fair enough. Those numbers by Kian Bell are super amazing. But I just the fact that Dole just really sets the tone, centerman, I think that gives him just a teeny little bit of difference. But certainly I would not be surprised. Really, there's only 2. I think there are a lot of arguments for other finalists, but it's one of those 2 anyways for me.
Regardless, congratulations to all 3.
Do we make a prediction or no?
Would you like to make a prediction?
Well, did you say Dole?
I said Dole, yeah.
I'll say Bell.
I'll say Bell too.
Okay.
So there are your SGEU MVP of the Year nominees. Now let's throw up the RBC Player of the Year nominees. 2 of them being the same as MVP of the Year, Kian Bell, Holden Dole, and Cole Dupro of the Flin Flon Bombers up for Player of the Year. Nugsy, I'll start with you. Any surprises? Any potential omissions that you feel maybe should have been in this category for Player of the Year?
Yeah, I'm not really. I mean, I think those again are 3 great options. Hard to argue against any of them. Humboldt's such a great team. They're so unified. Not 1, 2, or 3 guys are really taking off. So not too crazy to not see any Humboldt guys, even though there's such a great roster. Scott Barney's put together such a great team. That's the award that I think Kean Bell has in his pocket, really, just as an individual player doing things that nobody else in the league has done and can do. That's what Kean Bell does on a nightly basis. So for me, I think that's the one that's more easily to say it's Kean Bell.
I would say it's Kean Bell as well. I think these are the perfect three finalists. Cole Dupereau has been impossible to stop his shot, especially on the power play.
Yeah, so good.
Without, it's 37 goals that Flin Flon wouldn't have, right? That, wouldn't be in a race for second place without Cole Dupereau. So I do think this is the perfect three player of the year finalists.
And Cole Dupereau, and I don't know if I'm screaming into the wind about this, but he's defensively responsible too.
He's great.
Yes.
Like he's really good in his own zone. Some college D1 out there, sign this kid right now. How is he not committed? I don't know.
Well, hopefully they're listening to Neugs.
They
I agree. Let's move on to most sportsmanlike player of the year. This one coming to us by Federated Co-op. Tylen Hilbig of the Kindersley Clippers, Jackson Martins of the Melville Millionaires, and Xander Stewart of the Nipawin Hawks. Obviously, this one's a little bit more difficult to talk about, but I think the fact that these three players are nominated for an award like this speaks well to their character. Rory, do you want to touch on this?
Yeah, I mean, these are both one's a defenseman, but they're both offensive and defensive responsible players, Lady Bing type players that don't take a lot of penalties, right? They don't play in a way that's going to threaten their team and put them on the PK, but Martins has had 6 penalty minutes, right? In his last 75 games or something like that. A guy that got traded from a second place team into a non-playoff team. It never frustrated him. Mm-hmm. He never went, off the rails. He stuck to his game, was an amazing offensive threat to the Melville Millionaires. Then you got Xander Stewart, who's basically, playing 30 minutes a game for Nipawin, only putting up, 10 penalty minutes this year? 12? And Tylen Hilbig, who's a physical power forward, tough not to take penalties when you're down against the walls, right?
100%.
Lifting sticks, getting into scrums. And he's been able to be disciplined as well. So I don't know who's going to win this one. I've loved Jackson Martins since last year in Flin Flon. It's not just this season. He did it in the playoffs last year, all the way to 7 games in the finals, not taking a lot of penalties. He did it in the season before with the Flin Flon Bombers. I know it's not going back that far. It's just based on this year, but I'll give the nod to Jackson Martins. Sure. But I don't know who's going to win this one. They've all been exceptional.
I agree.
Yeah, I'll be 100% honest. I'm not 100% sure on the criteria for this award. So I'll just say that I think, Xander Stewart plays such an important heavy role, matchup role for Nipawin all year long. That tight barn, it's, everybody's on each other all the time. It's at Centennial Arena in Nipawin. So for me, it's Xander Stewart, just the importance of him for Nipawin versus the minutes he plays, the roles he plays, and only 10 PIMs is remarkable.
Yeah, top offensive threats constantly barreling down on him, right? That's tough not to take a hooking call 100%. Or a holding call. He just doesn't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can't believe the numbers, honestly.
Yeah.
Exactly, for sure. All right, moving on to Super U Defenseman of the Year. And this one has Tynan Ewert of the Balfour North Stars, Xander Stewart, who we just talked about with the Nipawin Hawks, and Dallin Weekle of the Humboldt Broncos. Neugsy, I'll start with you on this one. Your thoughts? I think this one is definitely one that I think you can make an argument for a lot of different players in this award.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, man, I don't know. They're to me, they're 3 very offensive guys. I think they're they all 3 of them play big minutes. None of them are liabilities defensively either. But I think they're definitely offense first. So if it's a points thing, Tynan Ewert has the most points.
Yeah.
So my guess is Tynan Ewert's going to win. He's the only D-man over a point per game. You know who probably could be on there that isn't going to get anything because he's only played half the year is Liam McInnes. He's been unbelievable for Larange. He's made a huge difference for Larange in all sorts of ways. But I'm going to say it's going to be Tynan Ewert just because of points. So maybe Dalen Weigel is the most talented, just period, defenseman in the league. You see him every day, Rory. But Tynan Ewert is going to win it, I think.
I think it's going to be hard to pry it away from Tynan Ewert with over a point per game from a defenseman. It's not, and I don't even have to say it, it's not taking away anything from the other 2 finalists.
No, not at all.
Or Kevin Minnock or Alexa Babick, who we thought would be in there for the first 70% of the season. But these are 3 of the most offensively gifted defensemen. I just think, he's 6 points clear in the D-man race. He's a point per game defenseman. It's going to be tough to pry it away from him. And that would be my pick as well.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the leading scorers amongst defensemen, like you said, Kevin Minnock's a good example. He has the most goals among defensemen with 13. And then you have Reese Richmond, who's second in points with 2 goals and 45 assists. There's a lot of players, I think, for the defensemen you could make the argument to be a finalist.
And just to make Rory happy, Jared Sitch, just if he has not been healthy at all
He'd
in
be up there.
2023.
He'd be up there.
He would be up there if he had been healthy, but he hasn't been healthy the last 3 months.
And still, even though he wasn't healthy, he's still an 8th in points when it comes to defensive scoring.
We made it through a show, though. Checked up.
Yeah, we almost got there. All right, let's move on.
I got a mission. What can I say?
There you go. Let's move on to Sasktel Goalie of the Year. I mean, we interviewed one of the finalists for it, but Cam Hrdlicka of the Estevan Bruins, Josh Cote of the Balfords North Stars, and Dawson Smith of the Ronge Ice Wolves. 3 goaltenders who have had superb seasons in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Rory, I think it's hard, though, to overlook Josh Cote's numbers. I mean, you listed off some of them when you were talking about MVP.
I don't know how Dawson Smith is making an argument, and he is, but the numbers are really in favor of Cote. It's, again, tough to pry it away.
It is.
You want to maybe find something where Smith can be able to pry it away, but I don't think he can. Cote first in wins, 4th in minutes, not behind Harmon Laserhume, Caleb Allen, and Hrdlicka by much. 2nd in saves, only behind Caleb Allen. And we think Battleford's top team in the league. Cote's had to be in the top goaltender.
100%.
He stopped 1,295 pucks this year. He's first in save percentage. He's first in goals against. It's just everything is pointing at Josh Cote. But, Smith and Hrdlicka they're as good as runner-up candidates as you can get.
Right. Newsy?
Yeah, Rory said everything that I would say.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, and not to overlook the other 2 finalists either. I just want to mention, too, like Dawson Smith and Josh Cote almost have the identical goals against average and save percentage. Mm-hmm. And one thing for Cam Hrdlicka, too, that stands out when it comes to him being a finalist, 5 shutouts this season. Yeah. He's had a great season when it comes to the amount of goose eggs he has. But regardless, congratulations to all 3 finalists in Sasktel Goalie of the Year. Moving on, Direct West Rookie of the Year. This is a good one. Riley Ash of the Melfort Mustangs, Karsten Cater of the Humboldt Broncos, and Dylan Ruptash of the Yorkton Terriers. And guys, before we get into it, I just want to say, too, this is another one where you can make an argument, I think, for around 8 guys to potentially be a finalist for this award. But Rory, I'll start with you and get your thoughts.
There is only 3 finalists. I'll say this.
Yes.
But the biggest snub out of any category is Alexei Silvestri not being a finalist for rookie. I think it is. But there's only 3. So, people are going to get left out. I will say that Silvestri, I believe, should be in there. He could win it.
Sure.
Although Karsten Cater and Riley Ash, both 2006 born, I think that does help their voting panels a bit, being 16-year-olds coming into the league and having the start that they have. And this is a tight race as well. Does it go to a defenseman, 16-year-old defenseman, who's 29 points, 30 points in 50 games played, anchoring a power play, playing PK, getting a lot of minutes for the Broncos? Does it go to Riley Ash, which, on a top line as a 16-year-old with the Melfort Mustangs? I don't know who's going to win this one. I will say, though, I need to give a shout-out to Alexei Silvestri.
100%.
He's been one of the best rookies this year.
Yeah, and again, if you talk about that age thing, maybe even getting nominated, Thomas Wright has had a great year for Larange as well. Kind of go down the list, there's a bunch. But, yeah, I mean, again, you said a lot there, Rory. I think I think that Riley Ash just plays so many roles, so many important minutes for this Melfort Mustangs team. Obviously, they've got a lot of good forwards, but plays a big role. Karsten Cater, Scott Barney trusts him, puts him in 4-on-3s, puts them in overtime. Karsten Cater's a big-time difference maker, even strength even for Humboldt. As a 16-year-old, sort of on the smaller side of a defenseman, even though I've never seen him really be physically overpowered really this year. Boy, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go with Ash just because I don't know. He's a forward. I don't know.
It's really close.
It's so close.
Flip a coin.
Yeah, and like Rory mentioned too, shout out to Alexei Silvestri right at the top of the rookie scoring. Even in Notre Dame with Jacob Leege after his solid week, he's he's 4th in scoring.
Second half of the year, Jacob.
So it's I would say the rookie of the year is probably the toughest one to pick this year because there has been, and what that says too is the future is bright for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League and the great players that the league has. Finally, coach of the year. And that comes from the Battleford North Stars, that being Braden Klamosko, Tad Kozin of the Nipawin Hawks, and Mike Reagan of the Flin Flon Bombers. Nugsy, I'll start with you on this one.
I mean, I love Tad. I love Mike Reagan. We're just going to give it to Braden Klamosko again, aren't we? It's his third in a row, I believe, in terms of awards being handed out Coach of the Year for Braden Klamosko. How do you not give it to him? Like 45 wins already this year, first seed locked up, number 1 in Canada for a lot of the season.
Sure.
Gets that team playing at a consistently high level, even on nights where you're like, oh, it's a Tuesday night in Wilcox. Are they going to show up for this one? And boy, do they find a way to be great anyways. It's amazing the consistency of performance. Forget about results. Yeah, you got to hand it to Braden Klamosko to me.
Rory?
I think it's Klamosko's. Yeah. It's really really tough.
It's tough when, for that, obviously congratulations to all 3 finalists, but when Battleford has been one of the top teams in the country for the entire season, it's tough not to give it to Braden Klamosko, who, like Nugsy mentioned, 3 years potentially in a row for being named Coach of the Year. All right, let's get in. The final week of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League season. It kicks off tomorrow night, Tuesday night. 3 big games on the schedule. No bigger, Nugsy, than the Notre Dame Hounds visiting the Yorkton Terriers. The Hounds need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Also on the schedule, the Battleford's North Stars play host to the Nipawin Hawks, and a big one at the Whitney Forum as the Melfort Mustangs visit the Flin Flon Bombers. Of course, Flin Flon battling for second with Humboldt. Melfort trying to get home ice advantage for their series against the Ronge Ice Wolves. So that's a big game for both those teams. And then we fast forward to Wednesday. Pair of games on the schedule. Melville visits Estevan. Estevan not only looking to lock down the Viterra division, but also looking to lock down potentially 6th place as Nipawin's on their heels. And then, of course, the Weyburn Red Wings will visit the Humboldt Broncos Wednesday evening. When we look at the grand scheme of things, Nugsy, I'll start with you. Obviously, you're going to be keeping your eye on the Notre Dame Hounds, so we'll just say that now. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the final week of the regular season, what are you keeping an eye on other than maybe the Hounds?
Yeah, there's still lots of battles here at the end, right?
Lots.
And one of the battles that we didn't mention that I'm actually super interested in, that's actually stayed a battle longer than maybe we all thought. Nipawin is right there behind Estevan. Estevan has, they have a couple games coming up here. They got Weyburn to end it. That's going to be an emotional game no matter what. That is going to be the case. They got that game against Melville, does Estevan this week too. And those cannot be banana peels for Jason Tatarnik's team. Mm-hmm. They do have the tiebreaker against Nipawin. So the Hawks have just stuck in. Is there a world where the Nipawin Hawks finish 6th? That is certainly a possibility. So that's a battle that we didn't really talk about that I think is still a very interesting battle. So I'm going to be interested in how Estevan and Nipawin do.
Rory?
To me, it's the decision between rest and reassurance.
Love it.
You have a lot of teams that are fighting. Does Estevan want Herdlicka to have one game off before the playoffs, right? Before that run he's about to go on, but then they jeopardize slipping into 7th. Does the Battleford's North Stars, who have locked up first place, sit the top line, but now maybe they, don't play for a week or something? That's happened throughout the year. Does Humboldt go into Notre Dame, right, with that game potentially on the line for the Hounds? Division rival as well. Do they bring out some of their top starters? LaRange and Melfort with home ice, you expect them to be fully loaded throughout all of it, throughout the remaining games. But this is now where the coaches will decide, all right, who do we get into the lineup? Who do we rest? How do we kind of structure this? You don't want to lose the momentum heading into the playoffs. So you will see these teams like Humboldt, like Battlefords, like Flin Flon, who have been playing playoff-style hockey. You want to see them continue it. But then they also look at the roster and be like, all right, this guy has been a workhorse for us. Let's give him this night off. And hopefully that doesn't, throw off anything. But that's kind of where I'm looking at, is the rest versus reassurance.
And I should say, for Notre Dame, trying to hold on, I find it very interesting to kind of plan mentally myself to call these games.
Right.
It's either every game is game 7, like do or die, crazy, like living on the edge, or it doesn't matter and it's the preseason all of a sudden and it doesn't, it's just over. And I know Chris Omnis and Benny Walchuk and Matt Decker and those guys have been sort of in that limbo land for a bit now in terms of calling their games, but it's kind of weird. Are they going to be playoff games or are they done?
Sure.
I don't know. You have to tune in to find out.
Regardless, I mean, we talked about it earlier. It's great that the final week of the season, there is so much on the line in so many different parts of the standings, which is exciting. And it means it's going to be a great final week of the regular season. Before we go, we have to give a big shout out to our sponsors once again here at SJHL Weekly. Cantera Seeds, Sasktel, Capital Auto Mall, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Chevrolet, Tourism Saskatchewan, Direct West, SGI, SGEU, Great Western, Young's Equipment, RBC. Thank you so much for your support, because without your support, this show would not be possible. And be sure to stay up to date with everything in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. There is only 8 days remaining in the regular season and about 11 days until the SJHL playoffs begin. So you'll want to stay up to date on social media. Follow us, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and get out to your local rink, because all these games are going to be great coming down the stretch. We also have the SJHL raffle, which is coming down the pipe as well. Our good friend, Director of Marketing and Promotions for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, Jacob Faith. Once playoffs start, you guys are going to be seeing Jacob around the rink, selling tickets for the SJHL raffle. So, Noogsy, get your tickets.
All right.
Get your tickets today. Rory, you have your tickets?
Got them.
Got your tickets?
10 for 100, baby.
10 for 100, baby. Put that on a shirt. Get your tickets today, sjhlraffle.ca. The deadline to get tickets, April 23rd. The draw will be done April 27th, and that's right in the midst of the SJHL final, too. So not only could potentially maybe your team might be winning the SJHL championship, the Cantera Seeds Cup, and you might be winning a brand new side-by-side courtesy of Polaris. Talk about a potential winning week when it comes to the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. But a lot of great hockey on the schedule this week in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League before the season wraps up, and then the playoffs begin. But it's going to be a busy week, so stay up to date with everything in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League on our social medias, and be sure to watch all the action on Hockey TV if you can't make it out to your local rinks. For Rory Mcgouran, Jamie Neugebauer, my name's Jeromy Corrigan, and this has been another great episode of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platform.